Welcome everyone to Hot Chicks, Hot Sex, How to Survive Menopause, and your host, Irene Hogan, the menopause expert. This is the first in a series of videos that I'm going to do for you to discuss different topics that women that come to see me want to talk about or have issues with and want to find solutions with. And also at the end, I'll be talking about some upcoming workshops that I'm going to be planning and invite you to come join me. So let's get started. So what are we talking about today? Stress, sleep, and hormones. So I would think the number one symptoms that women, when they come to see me, want to talk about is the fact that they can't sleep. And then when I say to them, how long have these sleep issues been going on? They say, really quite a while. In fact, I can't remember when I last had a good night's sleep. So does that sound like you? Then guess what? You're in the right place. So let's face it. What does the media tell us, about menopause? Menopause sucks. We're feeling flabby, we're feeling fatigued, we're feeling frustrated. We're just feeling like one patient said to me, throw me a lifeline and I need it yesterday. So we're really at our wits' end. We're confused. We feel that nobody's listening to us. Everybody around us has an attitude problem. Does that sound like you? Okay, then let's delve into it a little bit more. So, as I said, my name is Irene Hogan. I'm an author of the book, How to Survive Menopause, Hot Chicks, Hot Sex. Grab a copy of it on Amazon. It's the #1 bestseller and a download. And if you'd like to purchase a copy of the actual book, then please contact me via Facebook or by my email or on my website, www.hotchicksHotSex.com. I'm also a menopause practitioner. I've been a menopause practitioner now for over 15 years. So what that means is that I'm up to date on all the current information about menopause and that I work with menopausal women. So I know you, I've been there too, I've experienced the symptoms that you're going through, and I know a lot of solutions. I've had experience on putting together plans for patients, and that gives me a wealth of knowledge, not only to help you, but help also myself too as well. But first and foremost, I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for now, I'm showing my age, right? Over 30 years. And I would say I'm really proud of that. I'm a community pharmacist. I have done some hospital work, but I'm out there in the trenches still, seeing patients and filling prescriptions and listening to why you want things to get better for you and what you're experiencing. So a little bit about my story. One could say that I was born to be a pharmacist. This is me and my two sisters, Helen and Debbie, and we're outside Nettles Chemist, and here I am with my mum too. And Nettles Chemist was where we lived for at least 12 years, where my dad worked as a dispensing technician. He probably should have been a pharmacist, but his education was interrupted when he was evacuated from Poland, and through a long trip through Russia, he ended up in the UK where he met my mum. But this is where we lived. And I used to go down as a girl, and I used to watch him concocting all the potions and mixtures and that too. And it was a sense of community at the local chemist. People could come in and ask us questions. And this is really what I've based my practice on, that pharmacy should be a hub of community for health and wellness and advice and information. And then here's my mom. My mom for a while also too was a pharmacy technician. And this is outside a pharmacy that she worked at in Piccadilly Circus in London. So as I say, pharmacy really is in my blood. So let me ask you, those of you that are going to watch this video, does this sound like you? You're tired. You're really fatigued, right? You're dragging your feet. It's really hard for you to get up in the morning and really you just feel like going back to bed. You hit the snooze button multiple times, or you drag yourself out and say, what on earth am I going to do to keep me going for this day? You're stressed. Okay, so who isn't stressed? I know that's normal, but I find that women, when they go through menopause and perimenopause, which is just the time of change before you reach menopause, which can last over 10 years, ladies, and happens in your late 30s to your early 40s, you're stressed all the time. You're stressed beyond comprehension. You just feel as though you're on that constant hamster wheel and saying, what on earth am I doing with my life? You're drained. You're rushing all the time. It's like you never have enough time. I always joke, why do we as women say, I have to rush to go to the loo? Well, for you guys, you know, that's my British expression, but to go to the washroom. Why was we running to the washroom, okay? What are we afraid of, right? What are we running from, or what are we running to? But we just don't have enough time, do we, for even the basic things of self-care in our day. You're out of shape, okay? I hear you, right? It's if you're not sleeping, you're having hot flashes, you're having night sweats, you're stressed. You've got this ever to-do list of things that you want to do and have to do, right? It's not just you want to do, then you have to do some of these things, okay? And everybody's depending on you. So guess what? You're out of shape, because who has time in their busy lives to actually do something called exercise, or even take time for just a walk, okay? Does that all sound as though that's too much on your plate? I hear you, okay? Been there, done that, know what to do about it, and that's what I'm going to help you with. And then lack of energy, okay? We said, if you're not sleeping, where do you get the energy from? Okay, it's restorative. You're not going to be able to do all the things you want, okay? You're dragging your feet from one thing to another, and by the time you get home at night, or by the time you finish looking after children or teenagers and driving them around from sports to school events or what else, then really you have no energy. You just feel as though everything hurts, okay? Muscle aches, joint pains, and that too as well. It's like, what else is going to happen to me? My body is really letting me down, and I just don't recognize it anymore, and I don't have any energy left. And then, as I said, you're not sleeping. We cannot survive without sleep. You know, water, food, yes, but sleep, even after one night's lack of sleep, we already feel exhausted. As I say, we're fatigued, we're tired, like we're bone tired. Do you know that just missing out on one night of sleep is equivalent to driving drunk the next day? Isn't that astounding? So really, sleep is so important, and I'm going to give you a few tips for that in a little bit. And we eat healthy. We think we're eating healthy. We're reading the labels. We sort of know what we should be eating. We feel like that those sugar cravings are controlling you, okay? You just can't resist the chocolate or the ice cream. And you say it's all about willpower, but you know what? It's actually nothing to do with willpower, because willpower goes when you're not sleeping and you have no energy. And I'll explain how that and stress all goes together, and also controls not only your sex hormones that we know change in menopause, but also your appetite hormones too as well. So guess what? As I said before, I think you're in the right place. I'm going to give you some solutions, and I'm also going to tell you how you can work with me more. So this was a patient that I saw, and she gave me a testimonial. And this is what she said to me. And I think many of you are going to relate to this. This is exactly how you're probably feeling now, okay? What she said was, I can't breathe. Can you imagine that? That deepness, that heaviness, where you really realize that you're just short of breath, and that you constantly just wish you could let it all out. A deep sigh, right? A deep breath. And even you don't have time to that. You don't have time to breathe properly. I can't sleep. This is a huge one for menopausal women. And no wonder she had no desire for sex. I mean, who has time for sex, or who has any interest in sex when they're exhausted, they're not sleeping, and they're just tired all the time? And she said to me, look at me. Don't I look fine? On the outside, what is it that we all say? I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good, right? When really we're screaming inside. And she had visited a doctor. And I know doctors are busy, but his first solution for her was, you'll feel better on an antidepressant. And in fact, she was screaming inside. And she said to me, I don't need an antidepressant. What I need is help balancing my hormones and getting my life back. And so she worked with me. And what I want to tell you is that it doesn't require huge changes. We can make small changes that make big shifts in our health. And after working with me for just 30 days, what she said was, she said, I have more energy. She says, I'm sleeping better. And this is what often amuses me. I mean, it's not funny in a way, but it is that sometimes we forget all the things that are wrong with us until they start getting better. So she had a rash that she'd just taken for granted that was normal. She tried various creams and everything on it. And she said, my rash is getting better. She had even forgotten to tell me that that was one of her symptoms. She had improved vaginal dryness. That was one of the issues why she had low sex drive and wasn't interested in sex. Sex was actually uncomfortable for her. Does that sound like something that's bothering you and something that you really can't talk about to anyone? And, you know, she said to me with a smile, she'd initiated sex for the first time in a while. And this was all within 30 days of working with me on one of my menopausal programs, my hormone relief programs. So what I'm saying to you is that there is a solution for you, but you need to individualize that solution. But I'm going to give you some tips today that will help you along the way. So this is an expression I really like, FLC. Are you feeling like crap? And again, women come in to see me with bucket lists of all the symptoms that are bothering them, all the issues that are wrong with them. So when they fill out the forms, it's like, oh, yes, that's me. Oh, I didn't even realize that was me. And so, yes, we're feeling like crap. And then you can't get through the day without eating sugar. Does this sound like you? Very, very common. And yet we say, okay, what's that got to do with menopause? What's that got to do with hormones? And this is what I'm going to show you. You know, are you sick and feeling out of control with your diet? Is food controlling you instead of you actually enjoying food? Are you getting like these contrived, out of control cravings and wonder where on earth they're coming from? I see women suffer needlessly. Why is this? Why is it nobody's listening to us? Why do you go and tell people these are my symptoms and they offer you platitudes, or they say, well, this is a normal part of aging, isn't it? No, don't buy into that, okay? This is your time. You need to claim it. Nothing is normal about your body falling apart. And then to add, injury to insult, what do you get told? Nothing you can do about it. Oh, yes. There is anti-anxiety meds, there's sleeping medications, there's antidepressants, all which have a place, but are used often to, sometimes women say to me, I feel as though they just don't want to listen to me. So yes, sometimes medications can be useful, but there are so many other things that can support those medications. And there are so many other solutions that I'm going to give you too as well. So what am I going to cover today? I'm going to cover the 7 culprits that make your sugar cravings worse and keep you from losing weight. Weight and body changes in women as they go through perimenopause and as they go through menopause really is a pain in the butt, so to speak. Women are so conscious about their body image anyway. And as they go through perimenopause and menopause, they see things changing and they wonder why. Like, what on earth is going on? Why is my waist and my belly expanding? And yeah, I'm eating the same. I'm moving the same. And so those old, again, you know, the not so useful solution or, you know, thing that we get is, well, you have to eat less or you have to move more. It's like, how much less can you eat? So I'm going to go into that and what's happening. I'm going to give you some strategies that you can use right now to help with those sugar cravings. We're also going to talk about protecting yourself from stress, because stress is inevitable in your life. However, you don't have to react to it. And how can you restore restful sleep? Wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't that be good to lay your head on the pillow, to switch off, and then wake up in the morning feeling like joyful, welcoming the day, full of energy? Does that sound like a good thing? I think so. So why does sugar impact your metabolism? What's going on? What's going on with your hormones? What's going on when you don't sleep and that you're stressed out? Why does that drive sugar cravings, right? Why is it forcing you to hold on to weight? And why is your body shape changing? Why is stress making you fat and frazzled, okay? And maybe it's not making you overweight. On the scale, maybe you haven't changed that much, but it is that shape that you've changed, that menopause, okay? So menopausal weight gain, which is primarily around the middle. And that tells me when I see women complaining about that their hormones are out of balance. And why sleep is the key to weight loss and balancing hormones. And as you balance your hormones and sleep, you'll find that you'll lose weight without any other special techniques. You don't have to go on radical diets. So I'm going to share as much as I can in the time that I have today that I'm doing this webinar on. But also for those of you that really want to know how to put some of this knowledge and this information into action, and you want my personal help, I'm going to be sharing a way that you can get that too. So let's go on and move forward. No matter what though, I'm going to give you tips and solutions that you can put into practice as soon as you finish watching. And you can watch this video multiple times. You can stop it, you can start it, you can take notes. And then you can see how you can put some of these tips and solutions into practice in your life. So let's help you balance your hormones, combat some of those sugar cravings, and combat some of the other issues that happen with perimenopause. So what is it that's making your sugar cravings worse? What is it that's putting your hormones out of balance? What is it that's making you hungry and angry or hangry? And what is it that's changing your body as you go into menopause? And why does it stop you? Why is weight loss so difficult as you go into menopause? Let's delve deeper. So, eating too much sugar. And that doesn't mean that you're eating Twizzlers and ice cream even. Sugar is in so many different things. It's in grains. It's in fruit. So you need to know what type of foods that you should be eating, okay? And what is adding to your cravings. How about unbalanced hormones? As I said, a lot of women don't realize when their hormones are out of balance, then it makes it even harder to lose weight. How about food sensitivities? And you look at me going, food sensitivities. So food sensitivities can trigger cravings and also can make it impossible for you to lose weight and change that body shape that now is developing as you go into menopause. And being too stressed out. I'm going to show you how stress raises a hormone causing cortisol, and that makes it even harder for you to lose weight. And then, as I said, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not getting 7 to 8 hours of restorative, restful sleep, when you're not waking up 2 or 3 times in the night, and when you're waking up, when you're actually feeling good, then that is going to make your hormones unbalanced and impossible again to lose weight. And then, did you know that you can actually exercise in the wrong way? I know. That surprises many, many women. You can actually over-exercise. So more about that in a little while. And then detoxing. We live in a toxic world, no doubt about it. And I'm not going to make you go on maple syrup and castor oil detoxes. This is sensible, easy detoxing, changing your lifestyles, changing the foods that you eat, that can be done seasonally, that will help you not only sleep better, lose weight, get rid of things like bloating, help with energy, and help balance your hormones. So, again, let's see what we can do. So again, we can't do all of this, and I'm going to be doing a series of webinars on each of these, but we'll cover at least 3 of them today, and I'll give you some tips that will give you some quick wins. So eating sugar, what are we talking about? So most of us don't think that we're eating spoonfuls of sugar, but sugar's hidden in so many products that we don't realize how much we eat on a daily basis. Now, what happens when we consume sugar? And as I said, this can be sugar from fruits, it can be sugar from good grains, it can be sugar from starchy vegetables, but they all get turned into glucose. And when glucose, it causes our blood sugars to rise. And when our body senses that blood sugar is rising, insulin is released from the pancreas. And what does insulin do? Insulin controls our blood sugar. So when it's too high, it helps bring it down, and it also helps sugar go into our cells to be used as energy. And so it removes the excess glucose from the bloodstream, and that's a good thing. But what happens over time is that we become what's called insulin resistant. And this happens long before people become diabetics or diagnosed as diabetics, and that actual blood sugars go up and to become in the diabetic range. But what it means that as we consume more and more sugar, we produce more and more insulin, and then insulin becomes resistant. It doesn't work. It stops bringing our blood glucose down. And so what also happens when we eat sugar and carbs is it increases serotonin, and serotonin is a chemical in our brain that makes us feel good. Sugar and carbs also increase dopamine, and dopamine is the chemical in our brain that makes us feel good. It makes us get pleasure from things. So the more sugar we eat, the more you'll crave it. The more sugar we eat, the more insulin's released, and we become insulin resistant. And what happens is that sugar has been found to be more addictive than cocaine. So none of you would think of consuming cocaine. However, we consume sugar, and it's added to products so much that we don't even realize we're eating it, and we become addicted to it. And it's so hard to get off it. And then what happens when we consume that excess sugar and our glucose, our blood sugar goes up, is it's metabolized into fat. And so again, the more sugar we eat, we don't use it, and then we store it as fat. And as we go into perimenopause, because of the change in our hormones, where do we store that fat? I know, you probably can tell me, around the middle, that famous menopause, okay? So we get the apple shape, and our waist seems to expand, and we go, what on earth is happening? So this is this roller coaster effect. Okay, what happens? We eat something, you know, I'm sure some of us have eaten all of these things at some times. They taste good, but look what happens. We spike. These spikes are our spikes in blood sugar. And every time it goes too high, look what we do. We store fat. And how many times does that occur during the day? And as I say, our insulin can no longer control those high blood sugars, so we store more and more fat. And as I said, our insulin stops working. So now you know why it makes your sugar cravings worse. So let's look at 2 strategies that we can do to help you kick those sugar cravings, okay? Wouldn't that be good? I think so. So let's eat the right carbs. Certain carbs increase our sugar levels very quickly, and some increase them slowly. So these are what are called high and low glycemic foods. And the more fiber a food has in it, then the less quickly it will raise your blood sugar. And so that spike remains more consistent, and then you don't get those fat storage and that roller coaster effect of high and low blood sugar. And what happens when you have high and low blood sugar? You go from high to low, and then you get the cravings again, so you need to eat more sugar. So it's like a self-fulfilling catastrophe. Every time we go high, we go low, and then when we go low, we need to eat, and we're just back on that roller coaster of sugar cravings. And so on your left, you'll see the simple carbs. So these are things like the sugary things that we know, the treats, you know, the cakes, the things that do taste good because they're so addictive. That's why they make us feel good. They increase those hormones in our brain that make us feel good, that give us pleasure, okay? And then things like white bread, like cereal, like pasta. If we replace those with what are called complex carbs, so more of our brightly colored vegetables, some of the starchy vegetables, so like carrots, those are going to raise our blood sugar slower, and we won't get on that roller coaster. So now we know that not all carbs are bad and that we need complex carbs. So again, I've shown you here nuts and fruit, vegetables, quinoa, brown rice. Those are what are called complex carbs, and they raise our blood sugar more slowly. So let's go on. What else can we do? I told you balance your meals with protein, fat, and fiber. So fiber you can get from your vegetables, your grains. And why does that do that? Again, it stops that roller coaster. When you add protein to a meal, so when you do breakfast, whenever it is, breaking your fast in the morning or later in the day, then protein makes you feel fuller. So again, it stops that roller coaster effect. It stops those cravings. And then also fat. We know that fat slows down that blood sugar rise. So healthy fats like avocado, you know, coconut oil is all the rage nowadays too as well. But adding those to our meals helps us with those quick blood sugar rises that we don't want, that stimulates cravings. So now we have a slow, steady stream of energy. We don't have those ups and downs. We don't have those cravings. So now, second topic we're going to talk to, sleep. I know if I could see you all, I'm sure if I asked who was getting enough sleep, you'd say, not me. Who is getting 8 hours of sleep? I'm sure you're not. So you've got broken sleep. You have difficulty falling asleep, sound like you. You wake up in the middle of the night, whether it's to pee, you know, to go to the bathroom, whether it's because you're having a night's sweat and that wakes you up and then you get chills and you're tossing the blankets on and off. Or does that to-do list wake you up in the middle of the night? And some of us waking early in the morning, that's our stress hormone called cortisol, which we'll talk a little bit more about later too. So what can you do about it? Why should you sleep? Sleep has been shown that when you don't get enough sleep, you age. You age more quickly. We don't restore. We don't repair. We don't produce growth hormone. Sleep helps us burn more fat. I know. So when you're burning the midnight oil at night and, cutting out on sleep, that is making it more difficult for you to lose weight. Sleep increases growth hormone, I've mentioned to you. Increases another hormone called DHEA. I talked about detoxification. We detox at night. So we get rid of all the toxins, all the things that we've absorbed through our skin and through other products. And sleep reduces depression and anxiety. So if you're feeling moody, if you're finding you start to have panic attacks, which can happen again during perimenopause and menopause, then sleep is a solution. So what are some quick, easy strategies that we can do? How about I give you some tips to help you sleep like a newborn baby, okay? Wouldn't it be nice to just lay your head, as I say, on the pillow, drift off to sleep, and wake up feeling rested and restored the next morning? Doesn't that sound good? So let's have a look at sleep strategy number 1. Electronics. Who's hooked up to their iPhones? Who's got their phones by their bedside? And I know you say, well, I need it for my alarm. Put it in another room and disconnect from Wi-Fi. Because all those electromagnetic frequencies are disturbing your sleep. They've been shown to disturb brain patterns. So let's get the electronics out of the bedroom. Even TV. I have so many of my patients say, well, I fall asleep at night watching the TV. No, the bright lights are not good. We should be dimming the lights, at least an hour, 2 hours before we go to bed. You have blue light on your devices that you can turn on so that the screen glare is decreased. So you don't get those damaging rays that interfere with sleep. What about all the things that you are watching on TV? Most of them are really too stimulating at night. So find something restorative to do at night, Have a relaxing bath, use essential oils like lavender. Lavender is so calming and again restores sleep patterns. What else can you do? So this is a quick, simple one I'm going to give you is magnesium. Magnesium is so helpful. So I mentioned the bath. If you put Epsom salts in the bath, you're getting magnesium. So magnesium with lavender, great. Really easy tip to help relax and restore you. So a warm bath warms up your body and then allows you again to just drift off into la la land. The magnesium types I use, magnesium glycinate is really, really good. And just a little tip, if you suffer from restless legs at night, magnesium is often my number 1 tip and go-to for that. And then I mentioned the Epsom salts. And then how about sleep strategy number 3? So 5-HTP is 5-hydroxytryptophan. This is a very nice, simple one. It increases serotonin. Again, don't take any of these supplements without consulting with a pharmacist, menopause expert like myself, or your physician, because this can interact with some medications, including antidepressants with 5-HTP in low doses. The other nice thing about 5-HTP is that it decreases cravings. Holy basil. Holy basil can be used as a tea, it can be used as a tincture, it can be used as a supplement. And I find it really relaxing. I will drink it at night, it's non-caffeinated, and it puts you into a relaxed state before you go to bed. It also helps with anxiety. So this is a really good one that you can go to. And holy basil's great. In the summer, you can grow this as a herb yourself. Very easy to do in a pot on your balcony or on your patio. and you can grow it and pick the leaves. And then L-theanine. L-theanine is what I call Zen, or Buddha in a bottle. L-theanine has been found to balance your deep REM sleep. It puts you into a deep wave state, which helps with anxiety and also helps with sleep. So this is another one, one of my go-tos that helps calm you before you go to bed. So now let's move on to stress. As I said, who's stressed? If I said who wasn't stressed, I'm sure none of you would put your hands up, right? So it's yes, I'm stressed, right? Okay, we all are. But stress is not stress, just stress. It's mental, it's physical, it's psychological. It affects us in so many ways. And I said it's unavoidable. We have to live with stress. If we had no stress in our life, we'd be dead. So definitely, you need some sort of stress. We need to be stress resilient. We need to know how to cope with it. So how are you reacting to stress? Is there things that's happening to you that you don't even realize are stress? And that's what stress is doing to you. Do you get an upset stomach? Do you get that knot in your stomach? I know that can be me. Okay, when I'm stressed, when I realize I'm overtired, then it gets me in the stomach. I don't digest foods well. I get bloating, with regular foods that I eat on a daily basis. When I'm stressed, then it reflects. And we know this gut-brain connection. Serotonin, the largest area where we produce serotonin is in the gut. And we'll do another lesson on that. We'll do another webinar on that to show you how this gut-brain connection is affecting your hormones, affecting your mood, and also affecting your appetite too as well. How about anxious? You see, the very fact of stress is making you anxious, and the more anxious you get, then the more stressed you are. How about muscle tightness? Don't you get that? Like sometimes, like lower back pain, you get pains coming up in your shoulders and your neck, okay? Your head feels heavy. If you've been for a massage and someone says you're all knotted in the back of your neck, that's stress coming out. That's how you are holding on to stress. Or your heart races, okay? It's like, oof, what on earth happened, okay? You're driving, you're stressed out when you're driving. And then it's like, wow, what is going on, I'm feeling hot, I'm feeling sweaty, I'm perspiring, and my heart's racing. And is it any wonder that so many women end up in emergency with panic attacks, thinking they're having a heart attack when it's stress? And they're told, you know what, it's just stress. Well, it's not just stress. Stress can kill you. And as I said, not all stress is bad. And the impacts on us are, multifunctional. It's not just in our body. It's in how we think. So let's look at stress. And let me give you some tips and tell you why stress is bad for you. Stress increases a hormone, which I've mentioned a couple of times, increases cortisol. And again, cortisol is good. When you need to run from a bear or a tiger, then you need cortisol. You need cortisol to get up in the morning. Your cortisol is high. It's at its highest, or should be, in the morning. For some people, it never ever gets high. But it should be so that it gives you energy for the day, it gives you get up and go, and it allows you to function. And as I said, cortisol is good. It's a preservation, it's our stress hormone, but it also helps us survive, and that can be good. There's times when we need to be on the alert, we need to be at peak performance, but not all the time. And most of us are running on cortisol and stress all the time. And cortisol is produced by the adrenals. And for now, because we'll do another one on the adrenals and adrenal fatigue, the adrenals are the organs that produce your hormones after perimenopause. So during perimenopause and during menopause, you're relying on your adrenals to produce hormones. And so over a while, cortisol can get too high on a consistent basis, and our bodies can't do that. We can't run, you know, from stress. We can't run from that bear forever and ever. Eventually we get exhausted. Eventually we either collapse or we survive, but we're exhausted, or we get eaten by the bear. But cortisol, when it's high, robs our other hormones. So it affects our thyroid. So many women come to me and say, I think my thyroid's not working, but my labs are normal. Well, when you're stressed, your thyroid cuts back. It can't operate. It's like what I explain to women is you can't put your foot on the accelerator when you have no gas. So it affects our progesterone, and progesterone is already going low through perimenopause. And cortisol increases with age. So when our other hormones are starting to decrease, cortisol can actually increase. And that's why so many women, again, have anxiety, have panic attacks, feel exhausted all the time through the tired. So what increases cortisol as well? Being on birth control pills, when we're depressed, when we eat sugar, this all increases cortisol. So remember, when we increase sugar, we increase our sugar our cravings, and then our appetite's out of control, and then we store fat. So stress, now you can see why stress makes us gain weight. So doing nothing else, you're not changing your eating habits, but you're stressed, your cortisol goes up, and you store more fat. Isn't that great to hear? So we also know in menopause, another hormone that starts to go down is estrogen. But the further we get into menopause, and again, there can be a ratio between progesterone and estrogen, which we'll talk about under hormones. Low estrogen, again, is stress inducing, and therefore in menopause, again, our cortisol goes up. And then stress and high cortisol decreases dopamine and serotonin. So remember, you need a certain balance. Again, it's all about balance, okay, in hormones, right? We don't want one too high. We don't want one too low. But when serotonin and dopamine are low, that's when we feel moody. You know, so many people say, I don't get it. My mood changes in a split second. I go from 0 to 10. I'm mad, I'm angry, and they wonder why. Well, this is what's going on with your hormones. And as I said, how are you coping? We know how you're feeling. How are you coping? What are your coping techniques? And for many of us, it's caffeine. So, you know, I'm not against caffeine, but if you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is think about coffee, and you can't even perform or think without caffeine, then you have an issue with cortisol and your adrenals. And something called adrenal fatigue, which we'll go into more detail on another webinar. About alcohol, again, no problems with alcohol as long as it's in moderation. But are you getting home from work? Are you getting home in the evening and your only form of relaxation, because you're too stressed, you're too tired, you're like, want to just lay down and say goodbye to the world, let me get off, stop, you're coping with alcohol. And that's not good. It's not good for our hormones. It's not good for our weight. It's not good for our mood. And it just makes us sleep even worse. And then chocolate. Okay, chocolate's good for you, okay? I think it's on my top 3 favorite foods. But again, in moderation. And we need good chocolate, okay? The dark, organic chocolate that's high of antioxidants and good fats, not full of sugar, which is just going to affect those sugar cravings again. And here we go again. So I ask you, just look, you know, start writing down, how are you coping with stress? Are there better methods that you could do? Let's go over some of them. The too much syndrome. I have to do it all. Do we feel like that? That at the end of the day, we haven't accomplished anything. We don't give ourselves a pat on the back. All we do is say what I didn't accomplish, what I didn't do. You know, this thing, we need to stop, fill in the blank on yourself. This is not a race. This is not a race to the end to do as much as we possibly can in as little time and not get any joy out of life. So what I'd ask you to do is just think of one thing that you could get rid of that's draining you. No, as I used to tell my kids, is a full sentence. And women, we need to use it more. As I said, this is your time. Claim it and do whatever you need to do to get yourself back on track. Don't let life pass you by. So write down that person, that activity, that thing, and make a plan as to how you can get rid of it in your life. What can you do to reduce it? And then one of the things that I do with my patients, my clients, is I do something called the Stress Identity Questionnaire. So this looks at all those things that are causing you stress. It looks where you are on the spectrum of stress. And that's something that when you work with me one-on-one, or if you join me on one of the workshops that I'm planning, that you'll learn to do and you'll learn to analyze. So it assesses your adrenals and it looks at, as I say, where are you? Are you stressed and wired? Are you stressed and tired? Are you just stressed and exhausted? So what can we do? What can we do to make ourselves more resilient? As I said, you can't get rid of stress completely. So these are great herbs that are called adaptogens. Isn't that a nice word? It's adapt. They help us relax, restore, and rejuvenate. And they help us adapt to stress so that we can be more stress resilient. So these are herbs like rhodiola, ashwagandha, and adrenal extracts that help you restore the adrenals and get that cortisol back on a level track so that it's on a nice rhythm, higher during the day, coming down calmly at night so that you can sleep and rest. Step 2, how can you revitalize? What else can you do? Meditate. We all hear meditate, and you don't have to put on a white robe and sit on the top of a mountain for years to know how to meditate. It's just a form of breathing. It's a time, take a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, periodically throughout the day. At the end of your day, when you're preparing yourself, your body for sleep, to get your mind and your head out of busyness and activity and get it back to sleep. What did I say about you don't have time, you don't have the energy to exercise? Just go for a walk. Again, start slow, go low, and eventually you'll be doing it more often because it feels so good. There is so much research now to show that just simple walking, being out in nature, being by water, helps with mood and depression significantly without drugs. So let's walk. Let's enjoy the time outside and don't put any pressure. It doesn't have to be how far, it doesn't have to be for how long, just go and enjoy it. And as I mentioned, breathing. We don't breathe. We keep it all up here in our chest, right? We don't breathe from the stomach. We don't have a full deep breath. So I'm asking you to breathe. And to throw in a little joke for you guys, this is how women differ from men. So is this you? You look in the mirror and all you see is the negatives. You don't see any positive. And unfortunately, that is sad. So many women are going through menopause, going through perimenopause as their hormones change, as they go through this roller coaster of carb cravings and sugar cravings, as they're storing fat. As their body image changes, they feel shame. They don't feel good about themselves. They don't recognize themselves anymore. And they're desperate. I hear you. I know what it's like, because things do change. You know, after I had my kids, after I was working, like I used to work 12-hour shifts. I had barely time to eat, let alone breathe. So I know what it's like. Just notice your body changing and wondering, like, I haven't had weight problems all my life. What on earth is going on? And then to find that, yes, I'm stressed. Your sleep, you know, starts to go, and you're cutting short, right? You're trying to fit everything in. And what's happening to you? So you literally have to put a stop and say, I need to change. Because that life ring, you need to throw yourself. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to. And everyone that's relying on you is going to be, what are they going to do? If you don't look after yourself, then everything else around you will fall. It's like having a good foundation to a house. You can't put the roof on without a foundation. So you need to build your foundation. So why do you need to change? What's going on in your life? You know, I said to you, how long have you been feeling like crap? You know, when we're fatigued, when you're stressed, when you don't have any energy, how can you make the right decisions? It's so hard to change things because it just seems like another thing on your to-do list. Habits, you know, you have to learn them. Yes, you can have all the information, and there's so much of it on the internet now. But how do you put that together? How do you make a plan? How long have you been feeling that life is not normal? This is not what you want to do, right? So what I'm going to do here, this is a customer testimonial, but I'm going to skip by that tonight because I want to tell you about some workshops that I'm running. So we've looked at some of the puzzle pieces that are affecting you as you go through menopause. I've given you some tips. I've given you some solutions that you can put into effect right from today. So we need to balance hormones. How to curb sugar cravings, okay? How that plays a role in weight and your mood and a number of other things. Why sleep is so important. How stress affects you. We haven't talked about exercise strategies to accelerate fat loss. That is something that I will go into deeper depth with on another education webinar like this. Detoxing and liver support, how does that affect you? I've covered some of these. The rest I can cover later on. Also, what I'd like to do is invite you to work with me. So I work with women one-on-one, and also what I'm doing in April is having 2 workshops to help you put all this information together and form your own personal blueprint. So you can put all the information together, get results, and then also have me as an expert to help guide you, to help put together that plan that's personalized for you. So to take all that information and make sense of it, because it's hard. And then you come out with a step-by-step plan. So as I said, it's your turn to claim your life back. So I ask you to look and what you need to do in your life, okay? What do you need to invest in? What could you do if you could put all this information together and help with some of those FLC, feeling like crap symptoms? How do you put it together for yourself? So what I didn't discuss in this little webinar that I put together for you is why sugar is making your sugar cravings worse. I've shown you how and why sugar impacts your metabolism, why stress is the key to making you feel fatigued and frazzled and changing your body image and making you store fat, and how sleep might be the #1 issue that unbalances your hormones and also makes your weight loss impossible if that's something that you need to do. So we've discussed some tips. Choosing the right carbs. That's something you can put into practice right now. Practicing stress protection, stress resiliency. What are some of those tips that you can put into place? How important is sleep, establishing a sleep routine? And then eating snacks with protein and fat and fiber.